Hello, everyone. It's been a while, but with club football ending after Arsenal missing a very crucial penalty in the Champions League final, where it's finally time. World Cup. I know I've not been around a lot for everything else. I've just been doing a lot work, school, track, stuff, all that. It's been pretty stressful, but I'm done with work. If you're wondering why, I worked at Walgreens. I didn't like it, so I left it. I'm graduating. I'm done with school. I haven't graduated yet, technically, but I'm done with school. And hey, track, we made it to state. So there's been a lot going on. Hopefully, I'll start to get better at making videos and stuff for you guys. But I'm gonna try my hardest today to not make it too long, even though this is going to be a very long video. But I'm going to try my hardest to not make it over 2 hours. And if it's over 2 hours, I'm very sorry. And that's going to be a very uncomfortable upload and a watch. But I'm just going to get straight into it. Obviously, World Cup used to be 32 teams. Now it's 48. Way more groups than before. Third place team, stuff like that, is very interesting. Of course, the hosts, Canada, Mexico, United States, the big three of North America. And how many groups? Let's see. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. L amount of groups. So there's going to be a lot of games and a lot of predicting to do. Not even counting the knockout rounds as well. Let's start off Group A with obviously one of your hosts, Mexico, along with South Korea, South Africa, and Czechia, who surprisingly did make it through. I had to play teams like Denmark to get here, which were obviously way more favorited. If you know stuff about international soccer, or football, as I should probably be saying. If you know stuff about it, you know that these teams are ranked and stuff. Czechia has a much lower ranking than Denmark, but that's just what happens. So, starting off with Mexico, obviously right now, they're the best team, unfortunately, since, of course, I'm American. They're the best team in the CONCACAF North American region. You know that because they won the Gold Cup last year, 2025. It's very painful to watch, but we had a weaker squad, so if we played them with our full strength squad, we probably would have beat them. South Korea, they got Son Heung-min. He plays for LAFC now. Czechia, they're one of the smaller nations here. Do they do good? Who knows? And South Africa, they almost missed out. They got pretty lucky to be here. So, looking at all the games, there are going to be 6 games per group. Each nation will face the other 2. The first one here, and I believe the first one in the entire tournament, is Mexico versus South Africa. Now, Mexico obviously will have home field advantage, all that. I don't think South Africa is necessarily a bad squad. I don't think they're necessarily a good one. I think Mexico will take it 2-0. In the next game, you got Korea versus Czechia. And this is more interesting. This could pretty much decide third place. I have a feeling that it's going to be different than what many people may expect. And I've got, which it pulled out perfectly for me, a 2-2 draw. I think both of these teams will come out swinging. Korea probably plays the better football in this game. but Czechia gets a late equalizer and draws the game. Czechia versus South Africa was also another interesting game. I feel like it'd be closer than many people would think. I would think that South Africa would take it 1-0, get their first win of the group, as Mexico plays Korea. Now, a lot of people are definitely downplaying this Korean team, but I feel like the Korean team does have some talent. I think they can pull out a draw here. I don't think 2-2. I think it's a 1-1 draw. Little less scoring than the Czechia game, but that would put South Korea second and South Africa third before the final day. And in the final day, South Africa plays Korea, which is basically going to decide who gets third place, as I think Mexico beats Czechia 3-0. This game is going to be very close, very tight. It might be a higher scoring game, so I think I'll take South Africa 3, Korea 2 to put Mexico at the top of the group, South Africa moving on with 6 points, and South Korea moving into, it's kind of hard to explain. It's like big tiebreaker. Whoever has the most points and stuff like that, best third place team. 2 points might not be able to do it. But again, it's also goal difference. With this, South Korea's goal difference is -1. So that's going to be a big factor too. In Group B, we have the host Canada, who are definitely not the favorites, surprisingly, unlike Mexico. Canada just has a weaker squad overall than U.S. or Mexico. Canada got knocked out by Guatemala or some team like that in last year's Gold Cup, so they're not as good than the others. Switzerland, big favorite. They always perform well in the World Cup. They're ranked 25th or something like that. Bosnia, another surprise. They beat Italy. We all know Italy, absolute chokers, have not played in a World Cup since 2014. Missed 3 in a row. Very disappointing for them. They beat England in the 2020 Euros, which I don't like. So I feel like I completely forgot Qatar too. Yeah, Qatar is going to get destroyed. They're not going to get a point. I'm sorry. I'm just going to come out and say that now. Qatar is not going to do anything in this group. So I think Switzerland's clearly the favorite. But looking at the games, first got Canada versus Bosnia, and I think Bosnia will put up a good fight defensively, but it won't be enough as Canada scores 1 and Bosnia scores none. In the next game, Qatar versus Switzerland. I feel bad for them, but Switzerland is going to put them over the rakes and score 4 on their heads. Next game, Switzerland versus Bosnia. This is definitely a more interesting game. I think Switzerland will take it, but it'll be closer. I'd have a 2-1 in advantage for the Swiss. And Canada playing Qatar. I feel like they'll score a little less. I feel like they score 3, but Qatar does get a goal here. Some tiki-taka goal that surprisingly goes in, scares them or something. In the last match, Bosnia basically needing a win to go through. I think we'll pull off a 1-0 draw. Well, that's not a draw. I think we'll pull off a 1-0 victory and likely push them through to the knockouts, because 3 points should be good enough. And to decide who wins the group, I have Switzerland winning 2-1 and topping the group with Canada getting second, Bosnia getting third on 3 points, and Qatar getting nothing. Now, Bosnia will have a -1 goal difference, but I think 3 points will be good enough to push them through. Group C does not have one of the 3 hosting nations. That would be Group D with the US of A. But Group C does have Brazil, one of the heavyweights of the tournament, with players like Vinicius Jr. and stuff like that. And if I ever talked about football or soccer on this channel, you guys would learn to find out that I'm a big Kylian Mbappe fan, and that Vinicius Jr. is a absolute bum for Real Madrid, and sold Mbappe. But that's a long story, though. That's a long story. I want to get into that now, especially since Vinicius is playing for Brazil here and not Real Madrid. And it's a pretty easy group for them, let's be honest. Morocco is going to be tough. Can they win over Morocco? Maybe. Scotland, they might get third. Haiti, they're just happy to be here. So Brazil look like the clear favorites in this group, but we'll see what happens. Of course, first match in this group that's shown is Scotland-Haiti. I do think Haiti pull off a goal, but Scotland score 3. It's just unfortunate for Haiti. The big deciding match of this group, is at least what I feel, Morocco and Brazil. I think this is going to be a very good game. It's going to give a good look into these teams going into the knockouts. This is one of the earlier ones. I actually think it'll be a draw. Not a 0-0, though. I think it'll be a 2-2 draw. It's going to be a very entertaining game. Scotland, now playing Morocco, will get a goal, but Morocco will find a late equalizer to win 2-1, and Brazil will hammer Haiti 4-0. And next game, Morocco, I'd say, needing a lot of GA, is going to absolutely hammer Haiti 5-0 to, of course, try to take first place in the group. Since they're going to be tied on points, goal difference means everything. And both of these games will be played at the same time. So, Scotland, Brazil is going to depend on how many the Brazilians score. But I think Brazil scores 3. However, Scotland does score a goal. And that means that they will also be tied on goal difference as well. Now, this simulation just has Brazil on top. I don't know why. I don't necessarily know the tiebreakers. But I think this is going to be a very close group. I think Brazil and Morocco do draw, and it's going to come up to goal difference. Scotland with 3 points, also on -1 goal difference, like Bosnia. They will likely also go through as well in the 3rd place. And Haiti, you're just happy to be here, but you did get hammered. So, I don't know much about that. Group D, the U.S., the great soccer nation of America. Yeah, don't even joke, lad. I mean, the U.S. team did just beat Senegal. It should be African champions. Kind of got robbed by the courts and stuff like that. But, I actually know these players because they're U.S. players. You got Pulisic, you got McKennie. Luna's not there, but he was good. He's not there, though. You got Haji Wright. You got Freeze, the goalie. I'm not going to say every single one of their players, but, They also have beaten both Australia and Paraguay in recent friendlies. Well, friendlies obviously don't mean much, but it's a good sign. They, however, did lose to Turkey, who are definitely the favorites in this group. A lot of people think U.S. might get grouped. I don't think so, but I do want to see how this goes down. Looking at Paraguay, they got hammered when we played them. I think that was the match where it was like 4-1, but they got a red card, though. Of course, I might be thinking of the wrong nation. There's a lot of nations in South Africa. Oh, my goodness. South America. But I think Paraguay is definitely going to do better, but the U.S. will get a 2-1 victory. Looking at Australia and Turkey, Australia, I don't like you guys because the last time that you played the U.S., you were very aggressive on our players. You injured Pulisic for a bit, which kind of made me mad. And I think Turkey beats you 3-0. Looking at the US and Australia, I don't want to be too arrogant. I think the US take that 2-0, and Australia is going to need a final day push against Paraguay to potentially go through. Turkey playing Paraguay, I think, will actually be a draw, 2-2 draw. I feel like they score less. I think it's a 1-1 draw. All coming down to the final day for Australia, who unfortunately don't get it done. Paraguay wins 2-1, and they will most likely move forward along with the final day. Turkey, US battling for the top. And unfortunately, I do think Turkey take that 3-1. I'm not trying to be one of those guys that don't like my team. But Turkey just has the better squad. They have the better players. I think Turkey does win the group. But the U.S. doesn't get grouped, and they get second on 6 points. And Paraguay, they're through. 4 points is a guarantee, basically. Australia, you probably don't get 0 points. Maybe I'm just hating too much, but oh well for you guys. Group E. Yeah, we got Germany. And Germany. Yeah, this group is very light for Germany. The Ivory Coast is pretty good. Ecuador's decent. Curacao. I'm not going to say Curaçao's happy to be here. I think Curacao can actually get a draw and maybe win. But it's going to depend. But just plain simply put, Germany has the best squad in this group. Players like Wirtz. I don't know why I said Wirtz. He's been terrible for Liverpool. Anyway, Germany, Curacao. Most obvious 3-0 of my life. Côte d'Ivoire, Ecuador. Definitely an interesting game for second and third place. Or is it? Can Curacao pull something off? I don't know why I'm edging it so much. But this game in hand, I don't have a strong feeling for either team. I feel like Ecuador pulls it off. 2-1, maybe. Ecuador, Curacao. Curacao gets a goal. However, Ecuador gets 3 goals, wins 3-1. Germany, it's going to be definitely a more uncomfortable game for them. They're going to have at least one scare. I think Germany wins that 1-0 on a late winner. Côte d'Ivoire, or the Ivory Coast, just plays out of their mind and almost secures a draw that they desperately need. Coming out onto the final day, surely Germany doesn't choke this. They get a comfortable 2-0 victory. And for a third place, both of these squads need a win. Both of these squads do not get a win. They draw 1-1, and likely Ivory Coast is out only on 1 point. Looking at Group F is actually a very interesting group with 3 pretty competitive nations and Tunisia. I should have said Sweden because Sweden were terrible in qualifiers. They just got bailed because they were good in the Nations League. Netherlands, Japan, clear 2 favorites. Sweden might do something. Tunisia might do something. But the biggest 2 and the first 2, Netherlands, Japan, is very tight. Is very tight. Definitely more tighter than people may think. Because a lot of people underrate Japan. Japan has a really good team. They've always, I'm not going to say always, but they've had a pretty decent team. They're always one of the best teams in Asia. They always perform pretty well in the World Cup. So, in this big game, I feel like it's a draw. I do think it's 2-2, which means it might come down to goal difference. It might not. Sweden playing Tunisia. I think Tunisia pull off a 2-1 victory. It's definitely a bit uncomfortable for Sweden, but Sweden do win that game. Japan playing Sweden. I feel like this is closer than many people might think. I think a lot of people will take Japan, but I just have a feeling about Sweden. I think it might be another draw. I think it's a 1-1 draw. And Japan starts to sweat a bit, considering the Netherlands likely will win their game versus Tunisia, winning 3-1. Now, coming into the final day, Japan do need a result. And I think they do get it. I think they win 1-0 to Tunisia. But that likely won't be enough, as I have the Netherlands securing a 1-1 draw and topping the group with one better goal difference. However, all of the teams are on 5. Do I really think Sweden wins that Tunisia game, though? I don't know. Sweden is such a big wild card because they can either be the best team in this group or the worst team in this group. So I don't really know. Do I really have Japan drawing with Sweden? Okay, I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to stick with this. I think Netherlands top the group just barely on 5, but they're all on 5 points with Tunisia not getting any points. Although they definitely might be able to in real life. Group G is definitely one of the most interesting groups. You got Belgium. You got Iran, which surprisingly are still playing in the World Cup. You got Egypt. And you got New Zealand. Definitely one of the most random groups of nations that you would ever see. Belgium, obviously the clear favorites. Egypt, they have Salah, but that's about it. New Zealand, they got Tim Payne, the GOAT. Nah. If we were really talking about a GOAT, we were talking about Chris Wood, you know. Big Nottingham Forest guy. Chris Wood is my dog. He carried us a long, long way. And if you're wondering how I'm a Nottingham Forest fan in America, don't ask. I don't know either. Pretty simple group overall. Games are going to be decided basically through this first one alone. I think Belgium wins 2-1. Mo Salah getting the sole goal for Egypt. Iran versus New Zealand might be the most entertaining 0-0 draw of all time. I don't think either squad scores, really. But, you know, maybe that's a good thing. Belgium versus Iran. I feel like Belgium win that 2-0. And Egypt win against New Zealand 3-1. To develop a very interesting final day. Iran obviously needing a result. Belgium really not needing anything much because they have a goal difference pretty good, pretty high. But they're going to win the last game 2-0 to unfortunately put New Zealand out of the World Cup. However, I feel like Iran do get a result. They draw against Egypt, I say 2-2. And they put themselves at -2 goal difference, 2 points on third place with Egypt and Belgium moving on. Is that enough for Iran? We'll see. Group H is going to be Spain's favorite plaything kind of group. Uruguay is their only sort of competition at all, and they're really not that good compared to Spain. Obviously, Spain being one of the World Cup favorites with players like Yamal and stuff, they're going to do good in this group. And they're playing poor Cape Verde, who they're just happy to be here. They're going to get absolutely pummeled 4-0, and that will be that. Interestingly, the game against Saudi Arabia and Uruguay is a pretty decent game. I think it'll be a draw. Probably not 0-0. I think it'll be 1-1 draw. Now, we got Spain playing the Saudis. Oh, shoot. I accidentally pressed the loading. Oh, they got likely lineups. That's cool. I don't necessarily need that, though. I think Spain win that 2-0. Cape Verde get a goal, but Uruguay get 3. And in the last match, Cape Verde get another goal, but the Saudis score a late winner to likely move them on in the third place, as Spain wins this, probably resting their starters, still wins 1-0. No, it'll be a draw. It'll be a draw. Spain will rest their starters. They already won the group pretty much. They definitely wouldn't necessarily care if they got the second, really, so. And Saudis get 4, so they move on pretty much guaranteed, while Cape Verde gets none. Group I, in my opinion, tournament favorites, France, in a very tough group with Senegal and Norway. Senegal, again, being the African champions if Morocco didn't get in contact with their lawyers. And Norway, one of the big dark horse, Erling Haaland's led, just very good team. We saw a lot of their players play with Bodo Glimt, who had a very good run in the Champions League, just barely lost to Sporting on a big comeback, unfortunately for them. France, they're France. They got Kylian Mbappe. You know how much I like that guy. They also got Dembele, who just won the Champions League with PSG. Also Doué, but Doué's young, so I don't know about him. Nah, I'm joking. And then Iraq, they just got screwed completely. Like, I don't see a result against any of these teams, not because Iraq's bad, but because all these teams are extremely good for some reason. No. Not the most interesting match, but one of the interesting matches will be France and Senegal, which I actually think will be pretty high scoring. It'll be similar to the American game. France will win 3-2. Senegal almost pulls it off, but I don't know, because I'm glazing Mbappe gets a late winner or something. Iraq versus Norway. This is going to be very unfair for Iraq. Norway loves scoring goals. We saw them in the World Cup qualifiers. They scored like 4 on Italy's heads or something like that. So they are going to put a lot of pressure on France now, which they will face on the final day. Norway playing Senegal, however, I think will surprisingly be a draw. It'll be a 2-2 draw, but it'll surprisingly be a draw for the Norwegians, who expected to win all of their matches other than the France game. France playing Iraq, it'll definitely be better for Iraq. I think they get a 2-0 victory. And on the final match day, Senegal, needing a result, will pick up a result. They'll win 1-0 on Iraq, probably on a late winner, to push them likely through. And Norway, trying to vie for the group, is going to be a very entertaining game. It's going to be a 3-3 draw. A lot of scoring going on in this game. But France still takes top of the group with 7 points. And Senegal making it through most definitely with 4 in the third place position. Group J, you got Argentina. The last year's, and by last year's I mean 4 years ago, champions with Lionel Messi and friends in a pretty easy group. Austria, probably the second best, but Algeria and Jordan are not going to pressure Argentina at all. It's going to be a very interesting race to second place. Maybe, if Algeria decides to play well. Looking at the games, I'd say Argentina doesn't really impress. They get a 2-1 victory over Algeria, while Austria actually does impress. They get 3-0 victory over Jordan. Argentina playing Austria also doesn't really impress at all. They get another 2-1 victory, while Jordan and Algeria, basically playing for third place, get a 1-1 draw. Not really doing much. And on the final day, with Algeria likely needing a result, Do not get it. Austria win 2-0 as Argentina, they just need a draw. They're going to win 1-0 over Jordan, basically eliminating both Algeria and Jordan from contention as Argentina and Austria move on. Group K, you got Portugal. Cristiano Ronaldo, likely his final chance ever to win a World Cup trophy with his team. With a very interesting group, I think Uzbekistan can make noise. I think Colombia can make noise. I think the Congo can also make noise. But I think Portugal is far and away the better team out of all these teams. And in their first match, they win 2-0 to the Congo. Uzbekistan playing Colombia. I think Uzbekistan actually pull out a shock 2-1 victory because not a lot of people rate Uzbekistan. And they beat Colombia. Colombia, now feeling pressured, put on some goals on the Congo. As Portugal playing Uzbekistan. Again, the Uzbeks make it interesting. They almost win, but Portugal get 2 late goals to win that game. And Uzbekistan, basically knowing that they're going to be through, play lighter, get a 1-1 draw with the Congo, as in a very crucial game, Portugal win 3-1 against Colombia to put them top of the group. The Uzbeks at 4 points, surprisingly get second, while Colombia still probably make it with 3 points and a equal goal difference. Excuse me. We make the final group now. England, my team. Yes, I know I'm American, but England is my team. England is where my heart rests. And England is the team I want to win. And I think this is actually a harder group than many may think. Croatia is still a really good team. I've always watched Panama own the U.S. whenever they're playing, so Panama can be scary. And Ghana's not terrible. They're not the best team, but they're not terrible. They can do something in this group. So, big game, England-Croatia. I actually think England draw Croatia. Tuchel, the coach, didn't take the best players possible. He left out Palmer. He left out Morgan Gibbs-White. And if you ever watch Nottingham Forest, Morgan Gibbs-White is one of the best players England has right now. And he didn't even get to go to the World Cup. So, it's definitely going to be a little scary. A lot of people are going to be calling for Tuchel's head after this. But moving on to Ghana and Panama. Very interesting game. I honestly think this is going to be a 1-1 draw, putting everyone on 1 point. Very interestingly. Now, England needing a bounce back, win 3-0 against Ghana, who I feel like are the weakest that England will face, although they're really not that bad. Croatia needing a result against Panama, only get a 2-0 win, which will put England first on 1 goal difference. Panama also needing a result, do not get one. They win 2-1, or England wins 2-1, and needing at least 2 goals. Croatia go up 2-0, but a late goal by Ghana puts England top of the group with 4 goal difference, as Croatia does get second with 3. However, in third place, Panama, only getting 1 point, does eliminate them from the competition. As we look at our third place teams, the 4 that are eliminated are Panama on 1 point, Algeria on 1 point, Ivory Coast on 1 point, and surprisingly to me, Iran on 2 points. They just missed the cut because South Korea got 2 points, but were on a better goal difference. A -1 to a -2. So all that talk I had about Iran possibly making it through, unfortunately, not good enough, as South Korea moves on, very luckily, on the last position possible, with Sweden being the best third place team, getting 5 points and actually having a positive goal difference. Very interestingly. So these are our teams making it through. We got Mexico, South Africa, Switzerland, Canada, Brazil, Morocco, Turkey, or Turkey, not Turkey, and the US, Germany and Ecuador, the Netherlands and Japan, Belgium and Egypt, Spain and Uruguay, France and Norway, Argentina and Austria, Portugal and Uzbekistan, and England and Croatia with automatic qualifiers, and obviously our best third place teams being Sweden, Senegal, Paraguay, Saudi Arabia, Colombia, Scotland, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and South Korea. The unfortunate teams missing out are Czechia, Qatar, Haiti, Australia, Curacao, Tunisia, New Zealand, Cape Verde, Iraq, Jordan, DR Congo, Ghana, and the 4 worst third place teams being Iran, the Ivory Coast, Algeria, and Panama. Thank you guys for coming out, but you guys weren't good enough. On to the knockouts, which you're going to see some very interesting matchups, which I don't even know, because it's a very specific format on how knockouts are formed. I don't necessarily know it fully, so these are going to be surprises to me as well. So Germany potentially playing France in the round of 16 is going to be interesting. But Germany facing Scotland in the first match, I think Scotland will put up a fight, they'll get a goal, but Germany get 3 and they move on. France playing Paraguay, I feel like this will be a very comfortable 2-0. They're going to have domination a whole game, trying to get a goal. They finally break through in the 50th, score a quick one after, and that just puts Paraguay's hopes to bed. South Africa versus Canada is a very interesting match too. I feel like this could go either way. I think this goes 1-1 on penalties. 1-1. I can. It'll go 1-1 after extra time, and Canada will win it on penalties. So I have Canada moving on to face either the Netherlands or Morocco. Oh my goodness, what a match. What a match. Netherlands, obviously, really good team in Europe, and Morocco, a very good team in Africa. I feel like this is going to be high scoring. I think Morocco takes it 3-2, moves on to face Canada. The Uzbeks versus the Croats is more interesting. I feel like Uzbekistan will make it interesting. They score 1 goal. Croatia scores 2. Croatia moves on. Spain facing Austria it could be more interesting than people may think, but I've got Spain getting a comfortable 2-0 victory to move on and face Croatia. Turkey playing Bosnia. That's a game I feel like is going to be interesting. I think it goes into extra time on 1-1, but Turkey do find a late equalizer in probably like the 114th minute, moving on to the next round. Belgium facing Korea. I kind of feel bad for Korea here. They got a bad draw. I think Belgium moves on 3-0. Brazil versus Japan is a game. I want Japan to do well, but I don't know if Japan can beat them. I mean, we've got history. You know, Brazil have underperformed in these scenarios. Japan have overperformed. Can Japan do it? I think it'll go 1-1. I think on penalties, Japan would win it and move on. I'm sorry, Brazil fans. I'm sorry. I just have a feeling that Japan is going to pull off one of these big upsets. And I think that big upset is going to be Brazil. And even if Brazil would have to face Norway, who I think comfortably handle Ecuador 3-0. No, 3-1. I'll give Ecuador a go. I feel like Norway would beat Brazil too. I don't know. I just have this bad feeling about Brazil that they're going to underperform. Mexico playing the Saudis. I think if this is... Would this be a Mexican game? I think the home field advantage will just be enough to push them over the edge. They win 2-1. England playing Colombia. This is going to be interesting for the fact that Colombia have a pretty good squad. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be 1-1. And, Kane or Bellingham get a late winner in regular time to move on to English. Argentina facing Uruguay. A very big regional matchup for these two. Argentina and Uruguay being very close to each other. They don't really like each other on football terms. The Uruguayans are going to put everything in it to win, but Argentina is just going to be a little bit too much and move on. Now, the Egyptians are playing the United States, and I feel like this could be a definitely interesting game, per se. But, call this bias, I feel like the U.S. pull off a 2-1 victory and move on to face Argentina of all teams. My goodness. Switzerland playing Sweden. I feel like the Swiss are going to be too much. I think Sweden loses 3-1. Switzerland moves on. Portugal playing Senegal. Also going to be an interesting game. I feel like Portugal wins 2-1. Moving on to the round of 16. We got Germany and we got France. This is going to be a very interesting matchup. We saw this third place game at the Euros, I believe. The French did win. I think that's going to be similar result. I got 2-2. France win it on penalties. And that's that. Although France might not have the best penalty takers, but we ball. Canada playing Morocco. Morocco is just going to be too much for Canada. Morocco will win 3-1. Croatia versus Spain. Croatia will put pressure on Spain. They will. They'll do it. Croatia, Spain, 1-1. However, Spain do win it on penalties. If I can do everything correctly, then maybe. Okay, Spain win it on penalties. Turkey versus Belgium. I think we're in for a shock. I think Turkey scored 2 quick goals. Belgium get 1 late. But Turkey shock Belgium, who are always highly overrated. No hate to them, but they just are. And Turkey moves on to face Spain. Japan versus Norway now. It's definitely going to be an interesting game. I think Japan scored 2, but Norway scored 3. Norway moves on to the quarterfinals. Mexico versus England. It's also in Mexico, but I feel like England have what it takes to hold on, even in a hostile environment. They'll win 2-0. As much as I want the U.S. to beat Argentina, I think that would be the greatest thing in the world. Argentina's too much. They're going to win 3-0. U.S. is just not good enough. But I feel like a round of 16 isn't terrible for them. It really isn't. I know they could do better, but it's not terrible to make the round of 16, I don't think, for the U.S. at least. Switzerland versus Portugal. The Swiss always play well, but Portugal will handle it comfortably. As comfortable as a 2-1 is. They'll score 2. Swiss will pick up a late goal, but it won't mean much as the Portuguese move on. Now in the quarterfinals, we got France and Morocco, Spain and Turkey, Norway and England, and Argentina versus Portugal. What an interesting game. What an interesting game Argentina and Portugal is. Messi, Ronaldo, most likely last World Cup. Who knows what happens, really? But starting off, France-Morocco, we've seen this game before. France won 3-0. I don't think it's going to be that aggressive, but I think Morocco, great tournament, made it to the quarterfinals, 2-0. It's going to be it. But Spain and Turkey. Turkey was lucky that they beat Belgium. They're not beating Spain. Spain move on 3-0 to the semifinals. Norway facing England is going to be an interesting game. I think it's going to be a 2-2 draw, but unlike the English, they actually win a penalty shootout in the World Cup, which I know they did back in 2018, but still they're not very good at penalties in the World Cup. But England actually win a penalty shootout in the World Cup, and they move on to the semifinals to face either Argentina or Portugal. This is going to be a game. This is going to be the game of the tournament. I have 3-3. And on penalties, Portugal's going to be just better. I need to see it. Yeah, it says England versus Argentina. I think Portugal's... Okay. There we go. I think Portugal's just going to be a little better on penalties. Ronaldo gets the last laugh against Messi. Unless, Messi decides to, not retire. Ronaldo decides to go to, Inter Miami for some reason. And, hijinks ensue. But Ronaldo gets the last laugh over Argentina on the global stage at least. And that is that in that scenario. Now, we're at the semifinals with... This might be a little boring. It might be a little too favoritism. But you basically got the four favorites of the whole tournament. You got France and Spain. You got England and Portugal. Now, again, I might be glazing England. But, they're here. They have a squad good enough. I know they can do it. France, now. France played Spain as recently as, I believe, the Nations League, wasn't it? It might have been the Nations League that France and Germany... No, France and Germany also played in the... France really owns Germany. Let me not get into that. France, Spain... Spain have had a recent history of beating France in these scenarios. And they're going to score 2 goals. However, a late winner from France pushes France back to the final for the 3rd time in a row. France has always been good in the World Cup. Kylian Mbappe is going to go out of his mind, obviously. As long as these role players step up, France can beat Spain. And it's very possible that they do. Of course, England versus Portugal, very interesting match. I have England winning 2-1. I have England winning 2-1. I think they can do it. I think England can win. England scores 2 goals, Portugal scores a goal, and then England parks the bus completely and hopefully makes it through to the finals. With that kind of scenario, really. I don't think there's a 3rd place. There is a 3rd place match. So I'll do the 3rd place match first. But in the 3rd place match, we've got Spain and we've got Portugal. Now, Spain will feel like they failed. Portugal will feel like they failed. But Spain will still have a fire lit under them after that Nations League final that they had. They will want revenge. And I think they'll get it. I think Spain will win that game 3-1, get their 3rd place medals. Woo! And now we're here to the final. England, once again, so close to finally bringing it home. And then we got this French super team. So, I think in this match, which will be played in New York, New Jersey Stadium. There's a name for the stadium. MetLife. Yeah, MetLife. In this game, it's gonna be in the 20th minute or the 22nd minute. Harry Kane picks up a breakaway ball from I don't know, I'll just say Bellingham because I'm boring. And he scores. Puts England up 1-0. Right before half, the French get a penalty after a dumb decision by one of the England defenders allows Kylian Mbappe to score a penalty shot to tie the match 1-1 before going into halftime. Halftime being like 75 hours because you know the U.S. wants their halftime shows. They come back on the pitch. France pretty quickly develops an attack. Dembele, Doué, Mbappe. You know those three are going to do some, especially against a weaker England defense than you might think. They break through, and Doué actually scores the goal to put France up 2-1. However, late in the 82nd minute, on a breakaway, it's going to be after a corner, on a breakaway from England, the passes fly through. They go back and forth. Kane, all of a sudden, he scores. It's 2-2. And we go into extra time. In extra time, not much happens. However, on the 117th minute, as the ball is played around in the center, the ball is picked up by one of the French, you choose who, and one of the England players make a mistake, trying to clear it, something like that. The ball falls right in front of Kylian Mbappe, who obviously has the speed, runs past the England defender, gets past the goalie, and puts France on top 3-2 as the final whistle blows. And France are your World Cup champions. Once again, Kylian Mbappe basically winning MVP. And me, I would just be happy that both teams are here. Anyway, I got France winning the World Cup 3-2. England being second. Spain being third. That's how my bracket looks. And that's how all of my... that's how all my group stages look. So, a long video, I know. But thank you guys for watching it all. I'll try to be back making more videos now that I'm free. Not been keeping up on the UFL much that I would like, especially maybe some more NFL videos, stuff like that. But otherwise, thank you guys for watching. Peace.